Yo, I was the definition of an all-American jock back in high school, captain of the lacrosse team, pretty boy looks, the whole 9 yards. Chicks dug me and I played along, dating the hot cheerleader types whenever I could. But I had a secret and I was totally bisexual. Can't even remember the first time I popped a boner over some dude, but I knew from an early age that I was into both teams, if you know what I mean. Not that I was going to broadcast that shit to the whole school, are you kidding me? I kept that all under wraps with just a little experimentation here and there on the down low. Wasn't about to risk my entire reputation over it, so I stuck to smashing puss through senior year, thinking maybe I'd grow out of the gay thoughts eventually and be a regular straight bro. After graduating, I locked down this smoking hot girlfriend named Jessica. God, she was a dime, a tan, toned body, big fake tits, long blonde hair. The type of chick every guy wants on his arm, you know? I figured this was it for me, the real deal. I'd seal the deal with Jess, get married, just pop out a few kids, and be set with the perfect American dream life. My bisexual urges could get buried for good since I was crazy in love with this girl. Or so I thought, until she introduced me to her friend Eric one night. Dude was fresh out of the closet, a short little twink rocking the punk rock guyliner look. Seemed harmless enough at first. But then I got one look at those big blue eyes, that slim dancer's body, and those puffy lips, and bam, my dick twitched instantly. Bad sign. So I'm trying to play it cool around this Eric dude, you know, act super straight and unfazed. But Jessica thinks it's just the funniest thing that her gay friend is now an amateur go-go dancer at this dive male review club downtown. She's like, babe, we have to go see him shake that cute little booty on amateur night. Part of me wanted to be like, hell no, that's gross. But the other part, the curious part that can't resist a peek at some hot guy stripping out of his insanely tight jockstrap, was mega intrigued. I ended up saying something lame like, haha, yeah, it could be wild. Let's do it. Yep. So there I am, sitting in this dark club sipping on overpriced beer, mouth basically watering when Eric comes out in just a tiny little neon green thong. Dude had the body of an Abercrombie model, all tan and hairless. I could barely breathe watching him gyrate and shake that juicy little ass right in my face. Jessica thought I was just being a hyper-masculine pig, hooting and catcalling at the HU gay boys with the other drunk tools. Little did she know the dirty, dirty thoughts racing through my mind. After that first night at the club, I started making excuses to go back and see Eric's amateur shows every week. Told Jessica I was going with the boys to check out fresh talents or some bullshit excuse. But really, I was transfixed by this little Twinkie dancer and his mesmerizing moves. One night, Eric wasn't even performing, but I still showed up hoping to catch him walking around in just his skivvies or something. That's how thirsty I was getting for this dude. Jessica couldn't understand my sudden obsession with the male review scene. Little did she know I was obsessing over one dancer in particular. Anyway, things came to a head when we were all getting ready to move in together for college after the summer. The plan was for me, Jessica, and Eric to be roommates close to campus. But when it came time to sign the lease and get the place, Jessica bailed at the last second. Said she had cold feet about us living together before marriage or some lame excuse. So just like that, it ended up being me and the little twink dancer Eric moving into this apartment together. Just two dudes, both definitely not 100 straight, platonically shacking up as roomies. What could possibly go wrong? So there I was, living alone with Eric, the little blonde twink dancer who made my jock throb every time I watched him perform. At first I played it cool as we got settled into the apartment together. We'd hit up parties, go to the gym, chill watching TV like total bros. But it was getting harder and harder to hide the fact that I wanted to bend him over and go to town. Eric was super flirty too, always walking around in just a pair of little boxer briefs that left nothing to the imagination. I'd catch him changing sometimes, getting sneaky glimpses of that smooth, lean body and fat bubble butt. Dude knew exactly what he was doing to me, the little tease. Things finally came to a head one drunken night after the bars. We'd been out pounding beers and tequila shots just like any other night. Only this time, we ended up passing out on the couch together, my morning wood poking Eric right in the lower back as we were spooned up. He woke up before me, and that's when I felt his hand slowly start rubbing up and down my shaft, through my basketball shorts. I woke up to the feeling of Eric's soft hand slowly massaging my morning wood through my thin basketball shorts. At first, I thought I must still be dreaming. There's no way this twink roommate of mine was actually touching my dick, right? But then I felt his warm breath on my neck as he whispered in my ear, "Looks like someone's up early." In that moment, I lost all self-control. Spinning Eric around, I planted my lips on his and shoved my tongue into his mouth as we made out like horny frat boys. Clothes went flying off in seconds. We were both so painfully hard and leaking pre-cum like teenage boys. Before I knew it, I had Eric bent over the couch, pounding that tight little dancer's ass raw dog. He was screaming in pleasure pain, having that thick cock stretch him open for the first time. Watching his perfect bubble butt jiggle with every thrust was like something out of a pornographic dream. We ended up fucking all over that apartment for hours, making up for years of pent-up sexual tension. At one point, I pulled out and blasted a hot load all over Eric's pretty face and hair. He eagerly slurped up every drop, starving for my seed like Aristotle's crazed porn slut. Afterwards, sprawled out and drenched in sweat and cum, I looked over at Eric and thought, what the fuck did I just do? In that moment, I instantly panicked and tried to play it off cool. After that crazy night of passion, I tried to play it off like it was no big deal. Hey man, that was just some drunken fun, you know? No strings attached or anything, I told Eric as I wiped his jizz out of my hair. He just gave me that sly little smile and said, "Sure, stud, we can keep things casual if you want." But the way he batted those long lashes at me, I knew he wanted more than just a one-time fling. Over the next few months, our casual hookups became a regular thing. We'd go out clubbing, flirting, and throwing back shots until we were sloppy drunk. Then it was straight back home to clumsily suck each other off or take turns railing away at each other's holes like we were making a damn porn film. The sex was quite literally mind-blowing. Eric was insatiable, always coming up with new kinky ideas to try, like costumes or sex toys or risky public stuff. I'd never experienced anything like it before with any girl. I was addicted to his tight body and willingness to try anything in the bedroom. But at the same time, I started catching feelings I didn't want. The afterglow cuddling, the tender kisses, the pet names, it was all getting way too couple-y for my liking. I'd abruptly push Eric away afterwards, putting that guard back up. Deep down, I knew this was going somewhere I might not be ready for next. The intense physical chemistry and my growing emotional feelings for Eric were becoming too much to handle. I knew I had to rip the Band-Aid off before I got in way too deep. So one night, after another mind-blowing round between the sheets, I rolled over and flatly told him, "This has to stop. I can't keep doing this casual fling anymore." Eric's big blue eyes welled up with hurt as he stammered, "AW what?" "Why?" I internally cringed but stayed strong. "Because I think I'm starting to really fall for you, man, and that's not what I want right now. This was supposed to be just fun, remember?" He threw on his clothes and stormed out without another word. For a while, we didn't speak or even make eye contact when passing in the apartment. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. We both tried to move on and start dating other people. Eric brought back these random grinder hookups who looked like extras from an indie rock band. Meanwhile, I went back to chasing conventionally hot girls at the bar, trying to convince myself that's what I wanted. But the jealousy was unbearable on both sides. I'd get irrationally pissed seeing Eric making out with some guy liner wearing douche canoe on our couch. And he'd give me hell anytime I brought a new chick home, passive-aggressively slamming doors and drawers. Our friendship had become a bitter, jealous mess because we were both just lying to ourselves. Things came to a head one night when Eric and I got rip-roaring drunk at our buddy's house party. We were both trying to one-up each other, flirting with randos all night, but it was obvious the real sparks were still flying between us. After polishing off a bottle of Patron, we started going buck wild, making out hard right there on the dance floor, groping each other like a couple of hormonal teenagers. Our friends just watched in shocked silence as Eric and I almost ripped our clothes off, about to put on a full X-rated show. So we managed to stumble our way into a cab before any nudity happened. But as soon as we fell through our apartment door, we were instantly tearing at each other's clothes in a sloppy, heated frenzy. I'll never forget the look of pure animalistic lust in Eric's eyes as he growled, "I fucking want you, all of you." In that moment, something inside me shifted. Maybe it was the tequila dosage or just finally being ready to stop fighting my feelings. But I admitted through drunken slurs, "You can have me. I'm so damn yours, baby." So we made ferocious love all night, holding nothing back. Biting, scratching, screaming, it was absolute porn-level ecstasy. When the sweat and fluids cleared, we were both a tangled, trembling wreck. Eric pulled me close, and that's when I finally confessed, I love you, like really love you, not just the sex. He smiled that smile that still makes my knees weak. I love you too, dummy. Thought you'd never admit it. And just like that, I knew there was no going back. We were all in, for better or worse. After that crazy, drunken night of passion where Eric and I finally admitted our love for each other, I knew there was no turning back. We were fully committed to making this relationship work, come what may. Of course, that meant finally ripping off the Band-Aid and coming out to my closest friends and family. I figured my buddies from the lacrosse team would take it better than my conservative parents, so I broke the news to them first over beers one night. When I told them, hey guys, I'm bisexual and Eric is my boyfriend now, you could have heard a pin drop. Their jaws practically hit the floor in stunned silence, until one of them finally sputtered out, no fucking way, dude. But you're like the biggest ladies' man I know. I braced myself for disgust or anger, but to my surprise, after processing the initial shock, every single one of my closest bros just shrugged and was like, hey man, as long as you're happy, we don't care who you're dating. They even started drilling me for locker room details about sleeping with a dude, total frat behavior. Coming out to my folks now, that was the conversation I was dreading. My old-fashioned parents from the suburbs were not going to take this news well at all. Sure enough, when I finally mustered the courage to tell them their precious lady-killing son was gay for his male roommate, it did not go over smoothly. Telling my parents about me and Eric was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Their reaction was just as bad as I feared, a total shit show. When I finally got the words out, Mom, Dad, Eric and I are in love. He's my boyfriend. It was like I had slapped them both across the face. My mother's mouth dropped open in horror while angry flames danced in my old man's eyes. This is just a phase, right? You can't be serious, my dad sputtered, his face turning bright red. Mom looked like she was about to break down in tears right there. But what about grandchildren? Don't you want a normal family someday? I tried to calmly explain that I was bisexual, that I felt this way for a long time, and Eric made me incredibly happy. But they weren't trying to hear any of that. Dad shouted over me, calling me a confused and accusing Eric of corrupting me into his sickening lifestyle. The vile, hurtful words they hurled at me, I'll never forget it. I felt like my heart was shattering into a million pieces. This was exactly why I never wanted to come out to them. I stormed out and didn't speak to my parents for months after that terrible blow-up. It was devastating losing that relationship, at least temporarily. But you know what? Having Eric's unconditional love and support during that time is what got me through. In the aftermath of that horrific blow-up with my parents, Eric was my rock. While I was reeling from the hateful words they flung at me, furious at having my own flesh and blood reject me, he was there to pick up the pieces. Eric just held me tight and kept reassuring me over and over, forget them, baby. They're the ones missing out on the real you, an incredible person who deserves to be loved for who they truly are. Hearing that unconditional support and acceptance from him made me realize this man was the partner I had been searching for my whole life. Those first few months of radio silence from my parents were brutal. Every time the phone didn't ring on a holiday or my birthday, it was like a gut punch all over again. But Eric never let me wallow. He would scoop me up, take me out, and just dote on me with love until I was smiling and distracted again. He stood by me through that turmoil with such patience and strength. While I was busy grieving the loss of my family, Eric made sure I never lost sight of the new family we were building together, one bound by our authentic truth and unshakable love for each other. Slowly, with Eric's encouragement and my stubbornness, I started trying to reconnect with my parents again. The first Thanksgiving back at their house was tense as hell, but Eric kept squeezing my hand under the table, giving me the courage to keep showing up authentically. So over time, the walls of bigotry around my parents' hearts began to crack, little by little. Looking back, I honestly don't know if I would have made it through that painful period of rejection from my parents without Eric's unwavering love and support. He was the light that guided me through the darkness when I wanted to just give up and retreat back into the closet. But Eric wouldn't let me quit on us, on the real, authentic life we deserve. They'll come around eventually, I know it. He'd reassure me after yet another strained, awkwardly silent holiday dinner. As long as we keep showing up as our true self, The Ice Queen and Grumpy King will melt. Just give it time. And you know what? The little punk rocker was right. My parents could only keep up their disgust and disapproval act for so long before Eric's bright spirit inevitably won them over. Maybe it was seeing how devoted he was to me or how happier I became once I was open about my truth. But slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the icy barriers began to crack. First it was Mom making hesitant small talk with Eric at family events. Then Dad starting to throw him the occasional gruff nod or half grin. Before I knew it, we were getting invited over for Sunday dinners again, like old times, with Eric's hand on my knee under the table. Or these days, when we visit, Eric gets greeted with big hugs and effusive compliments from my folks. You two are so great together. Mom will gush. Don't know what we were so worried about. You make an amazing couple. Every time I hear that and see the sparkle in Eric's eye, I'm reminded why I'll never regret taking that terrifying leap all those years ago. You know, there were so many times along this crazy journey when the easy thing to do would have been to just bury my feelings for Eric, to shut that part of myself off completely like I tried to for so many years. If I had played it safe and stuck to dating women, I could have avoided a lot of heartache and turbulence. But then I wouldn't have known the profound, all-encompassing love and acceptance I feel today. The joy of being unapologetically myself around the most important people in my life. Of introducing Eric with a proud smile as my partner instead of some shameful secret. Seeing his face light up when he tell new friends how we met and fell in love against all odds. The path to getting here was brutally difficult at times, I won't lie. Your coming out shattered my world into a million pieces. Friendships were strained, my relationship with my parents was decimated for years. I struggled mightily with accepting myself and faced some of the darkest lows. There were so many moments of crippling doubt, where I questioned whether upending my entire life was worth the emotional turmoil. But then I feel Eric's hand slip into mine, see the adoring look in those big blue eyes, and any regrets just melt away. This man owes me nothing. From the day we first fell into bed together, he's only ever loved me for my authentic, imperfect self. If I had stayed in the closet and played it safe, I would have missed out on my soulmate, on a lifetime of intimate moments, adventures, unconditional support, and growth that only he could provide. So yeah, it took years to silence the noise of judgment from others, but looking at my life now, waking up every morning to my best friend, the love of my life, I know that every ounce of struggle was worth it to finally be free. You know what I've learned through this whole crazy ride? That love is worth fighting for no matter how impossible or unconventional the circumstances may seem. If you had told that closeted, insecure jock I used to be that one day I'd end up falling crazy in love with this sassy little twink dancer, I would have laughed in your face. My mind was so locked into society's box of what's normal and acceptable, I couldn't even fathom the possibility. But thank God I had the courage to at least be honest with myself about those innermost desires. Otherwise, I would have missed out on the greatest love of my life. A love so pure, so thrilling and profound, it makes all the heartache and struggle seem insignificant in hindsight. Waking up every morning tangled up with Eric, my gorgeous best friend and soulmate, is worth more to me than anything. Don't get me wrong, the journey to this point wasn't easy. Coming out shattered my world and self-confidence into pieces I thought I'd never recover from. For years, I battled depression, eating disorder tendencies, and internalized shame I'm still working through. There were countless nights I broke down in Eric's arms, utterly demoralized by the hatred and rejection. But he was my harbor in those turbulent storms, holding me close and reminding me that our love was something worth weathering any storm for. Brick by brick, with his gentle patience and unwavering devotion, Eric helped rebuild the parts of me that self-loathing tried to destroy. 6 years later, I'm finally at peace with myself in a way I never could have imagined. If you're reading this feeling trapped in a similar cycle of denial, please don't deprive yourself of chances at true happiness and fulfillment. It won't be easy, but it's so worth taking that frightening leap. Build your chosen family of loved ones who embrace you for who you truly are. And when the universe finally conspires to introduce you to your person, don't let fear convince you to run away from it. Your love really can conquer all if you're brave enough to let it in. Eric and I are the luckiest proof.